Start.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 2, verse 31 and 32 today. Verse 31. Vipannan Vishapanena Nigrihya Bhujagadipam Uttapiya Apayayat Gavas Tattoyam Prakriti Sthitam. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were perplexed. Word to word. Vipannan, perplexed in great difficulties. Vishapanena, by drinking poison. Nigrihya, subduing. Bhujaga Adipam, the chief of the reptiles. Uttapya, after coming out. Apayayat, caused to drink. Gavaha, the cows. That, Toyam, water. Prakriti, natural. Sthitam, situated. Translation. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were perplexed by great difficulties because a certain portion of the Yamuna was poisoned by the chief of the reptiles, Kaliya. The Lord chastised the snake king within the water and drove him away. And after coming out of the river, he caused the cows to drink the water and proved that the water was again in its natural state. I'll do the verse 32 and I'll try to say some points in 31 and 32. Verse 32. Ayajayat gosevenam goparajam dvijottame vittasya chorubarasya chikirshan sadvyayam vipu. Word to word translations. Avajayat, Ayajayat, made to perform. Gosevena, by worship of the cows. Goparajam, the king of the cowherds. Dvija Uttame, by the learned Brahmanas. Vittasya, of the wealth. Cha, also. Urubarasya, great opulence. Chikirshan, desiring to act. Satvyayam, proper utilization. Vibhuhu, the great. Translation. The Supreme Lord Krishna desired to utilize the opulent financial strength of Maharaj Nanda for worship of the cows, and also he wanted to give a lesson to Indra, the king of heaven. Thus, he advised his father to perform worship of Go, or the pasturing lands and the cows, with the help of learned Brahmanas. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since he is the teacher of everyone, the Lord also taught his father Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj was a well-to-do landholder and owner of many cows, and as was the custom, he used to perform yearly worship of Indra, the king of heaven, with great opulence. This worship of demigods by the general populace is also advised in the Vedic literature, just so people can accept the superior power of the Lord. The demigods are servants of the Lord, deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. Therefore, it is advised in the Vedic scriptures that one should perform yagnas to appease the demigods. But one who is devoted to the Supreme Lord has no need to appease the demigods. Worship of the demigods by common people is an arrangement for acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, but it is not necessary. Such appeasement is generally recommended for material gains only. As we have already discussed in the second canto of this literature, one who admits the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to worship the secondary demigods. sometimes being worshipped and adored by less intelligent living beings, the demigods become puffed up with power and forget the supremacy of the Lord. This happened when Lord Krishna was present in the universe, and thus the Lord wanted to give a lesson to the king of heaven, Indra. He therefore asked Maharaj Nanda to stop the sacrifice offered to Indra and to use the money properly by performing a ceremony worshipping the cows and the pasturing grounds on the hill of Govardhan. By this act, Lord Krishna taught human society, as he has instructed in the Bhagavad Gita also, that one should worship the Supreme Lord by all acts and by all their results. That will bring about the desired success. The Vaishyas are specifically advised to give protection to the cows and their pasturing ground or agricultural land instead of squandering their hard-earned money. That will satisfy the Lord. The perfection of one's occupational duty, whether in the sphere of duty to oneself, one's community, or one's nation, is judged by the degree to which the Lord is satisfied. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Neham Shri Gurun Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathamitam Tam Sachivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Shah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasad Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are still continuing listening the glorification of the Lord. How Uddhava is remembering the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan to Vidura. So now the verse 31 talks about the pastime of Kaliya, subduing the Kaliya. In this verse, with the help of Prabhupada translation, it says that the part of the portion of Yamuna was poisoned by the Kaliya. So Srila Prabhupada, he wrote in Krishna book in detail that how Kaliya was releasing the poison every single day by living in the Yamuna for so long time. There, the nearby area, all the inhabitants were actually dying with the poison actually, except the Kadamba tree. And some commentary says that the Kadamba tree did not dry because Garuda had a plan Garuda has a plan where when it's time to kill the Kaliya, Lord Krishna has to take the help of that tree and then dive into the water, Yamuna. That is one of the commentary. So all the inhabitants, even when if a bird or any like the cows were trying to drink that water, they were immediately dying. So the certain portion of the Yamuna was poisoned by the Kaliya, and he was living with the family. So, and the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they were actually very perplexed by this difficulty, because the cows were not able to drink the water, and all the trees, plants were dead around the surroundings of that portion of the Yamuna. And then more detail was given in Krishna book, where I think it's a good thing for me to contemplate and then try to recall those points. Are something like when Lord Sri Krishna was trying to subdue the Kaliya, when his lotus feet was on the hoods of the Kaliya, the snake was becoming so angry to kill Krishna actually. But still, he don't have any power to fight with Krishna. So when his poison was completely coming out, he was helpless actually. The Kaliya was defeated and he was helpless. At that time, the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya, take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. The Nagapatnis glorify this Krishna in many ways actually. There is a certain section in the Srimad Bhagavatam where the Nagapatnis glorify the Supreme Lord. They say one of the glorification where I remember was the Nagapatnis were saying that even the Lord Brahma, who came from the navel of the Supreme Lord, was not as much as fortunate enough as Kaliya, because the lotus feet of the Lord was on the hoods of Kaliya, which means Kaliya must be a very, very fortunate person to have the feet of the Lord Krishna on his hoods for his lifetime. So they were so happy, and then they were saying that the Nagapatnis, they were saying he is the Kaliya. Their husbands are very lucky, or they're very fortunate to have the association of Lord Sri Krishna and also the lotus feet on their hoods. They also ask for the forgiveness on behalf of the Kaliya because of his offense to Lord Sri Krishna and to the Vrindavan Vasis or Vrajvasis or herdmen. They ask to leave him alive, so that because they have the family, and then these Nagapatnis were women and they cannot live in this world without their husband. They will be helpless, and then they cannot even defeat. So they ask for the forgiveness and ask the Supreme Lord to let the Kaliya live. But they also afraid that now his poison, the venom, was completely gone from his body. Now how can he defeat the other inhabitants or the other living creatures, especially the Garuda? So Lord Sri Krishna says that when Garuda sees my lotus feet on the hoods of Kaliya, he cannot do anything. So that benediction he will give, and also he will forgive the Kaliya, even though he made a big offense, especially to the Vrindavan people. So that's where so Lord Sri Krishna, he is trying to protect the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and also the Kaliya, who was completely poisoned with anger. So he, in this way, he was trying to help each and every inhabitant when he came to this material world. So that's a little sharing on the Kaliya pastime. And then in the last sentence, Srila Prabhupada says in his translation that when the Lord chastised the snake king within the water, it drove him away. After coming out of the river, he caused the cows to drink that water and proved that water was again in its natural state. So that was a good point actually. He made sure that the water again came back to the natural state. So the way like how Krishna is performing his pastimes are really wonderful over here. It was so poisoned before, but now again it came back to the natural state, which is very nice, beautiful. So in text 32, it talks about the pastime of Govardhan Puja, and also chastising the king of heaven, Indra. Here it started with the Supreme Lord Krishna. He wanted to utilize the financial strength of Nanda Maharaj for the worship of the cows, but not for the fire sacrifice made for the Indra. He actually strongly discouraged the performing the fire sacrifice for Indra. Actually, he advised his father, even though he's a small boy, he advised his father to perform the worship for the cows with the help of learned brahmanas. So here, the couple of points I got it from this purport is that Krishna is not only doing a pastime in Vrindavan, but also giving us a lesson over here. That is something like worshipping the demigods. So every year, this Vrindavan cowherdmen are doing this yearly worship of Indra because he was giving the rain, and with that rain, they were doing this agriculture things and getting the food and everything. But Krishna strongly did not approve that, and he wanted all the inhabitants of Vrindavan to utilize his he wants to utilize their devotion to the Supreme Lord, but not to divert to worshipping the demigods. So he made sure that he is helping the Vrindavan people and also us who are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. The main point over here was saying that Srila Prabhupada is saying that the worshipping the demigods are it's not needed actually. It is only like people who didn't know about the supremacy of the Lord. They only worship for the material gain, which is also temporary. And then again, these demigods are getting this power because the permission is granted by the Supreme Lord. So the demigods are completely the servants of the Lord actually, and they are deputed to look after the management of various activities of universal affairs. So everyone has their own duties, and they are simply performing their prescribed duties. So here, Krishna is trying to tell the Nanda Maharaj and elderly learned brahmanas. In that way, Krishna was trying to save the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and also he wants to teach a lesson to King Indra because he was too much puffed up with his material comforts. So these are the two reasons how the pastime of the Govardhan Puja, performing the Govardhan Puja has taken place. And from the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is taking a reference from the Bhagavad Gita that everyone should perform their prescribed duties. Like the Brahmanas, they have to study the scriptures. Kshatriyas, they have to protect the citizens. Shudras, they have to respect or serve the higher caste like Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. And Vaishyas are they have to take care of the agricultural lands and protects the cows. So here, Krishna himself specifically, he advised himself as Vaishyas because he is giving the protection to the cows, and he's son of Nanda Maharaj. So he is saying that our specific duty, prescribed duty, is to pasture grounds and agricultural lands and protection to the cows. So he wanted to use the money for these things, but not to please the King Indra, who is just doing his prescribed duty. So he was giving that knowledge to all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, and he's making sure that the inhabitants of Vrindavan are only the success will come when they satisfy the Lord, but not the mediators or the demigods who are just doing their duties. So in that way, Krishna was telling to his father Nanda Maharaj and also the elderly Brahmins how he can how he can start this Govardhan Puja, diverting the fire sacrifice to King Indra. I think in next verses we will learn more about how the Indra will get so angry, and he give like the wrong he give the rain, and everyone will be in problem. So at that time Krishna will lift the Govardhan hill. So I think it will come in verse 33. So that's it from me. I can stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo eva cha paddanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.